Single dad's amazing act saves millionaire. 14 days later, a surprising transformation revealed. Jake sat in his driveway, snow flurries swirling around him, the old delivery van panting in the cold. Another night of hustling, another night of wondering if he was doing enough for his daughter, Lily. Sometimes he felt like he was running on fumes. With grimy hands from the garage and the weight of countless bills on his shoulders, he always pushed himself, but living as a single dad and mechanic while moonlighting as a delivery driver was a grind. The thought of disappointing Lily haunted him, and he couldn't shake it, his heart heavy with doubt. Each delivery was a chance, a race against time, snow or no snow, to provide a better life for her. That blizzard night, the wind whipped against him as he set off, the road slick and treacherous. Just another late run, or so he thought, until he spotted the gleam of a luxury car on the side of the road. The contrasts were stark. He, with his old van and patched jackets, versus the man inside, a sharply dressed businessman who radiated wealth and entitlement. Ethan. Jake had heard stories about him. Initially, he hesitated, a mix of unease and instinct. But grit kicked in. He couldn't ignore another human's plight. That was something he always taught Lily. So, he pulled over. As he approached, the bitterness of the wind pierced through his bones, and the businessman's frustration was palpable. "I'm stuck, and my phone is dead," Ethan sneered, shaking from the cold, but even that didn't deter Jake. Swallowing his own feelings of inadequacy, Jake offered his warmth, a simple act of kindness to a man who seemed worlds away from his struggles. Inside the van, they shared coffee, the warmth wrapping around them like a promise. Their conversations unfurled like vines, touching on lives so different yet inexplicably intertwined, revealing fears and failures. There was a solidarity in sharing their wounds, but an undercurrent of tension swirled within Jake. Could he trust this man? Did wealth shield Ethan from real struggles? Were their lives so different at their core? Now, things began to spiral. After days of catching up with Ethan and his alluring promise of opportunities for Lily, the hefty offer of a scholarship felt more like shackles than wings. The pride bubbled inside him, eclipsed by a storm of anger and feelings of inadequacy. What would it mean for Lily to accept this gift? Would it undermine the sweat and long nights he fought through to build her future? He wrestled with the notion that Ethan's offer was a ticket to success wrapped in something grotesque. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Days bled into weeks, and with each passing moment, the pressure mounted. Jake noticed the whispers surrounding Ethan. A turbulent family life, the legacy of privilege. He felt as if the very offer meant to uplift his daughter carried the weight of something darker. It threatened the core beliefs he instilled in her: hard work, integrity. As he confronted Ethan, emotions bubbled over. Their opposing views clashed violently, with Jake feeling his protective instincts heighten, scrambling to shield Lily from whatever storm was brewing. The stakes rose with each heated exchange, and in that final climactic moment, Jake stared into Ethan's sharp eyes, breath ragged, heart racing. Would he let this opportunity slip through his fingers? What if all this time he had miscalculated? The countdown had begun, with the promise of transformation looming tantalizingly close, yet the question remained: can he learn to trust again without surrendering his dignity? The next few days felt like a blur of emotions for Jake. Every waking moment was punctuated by the conflict swirling within him. Should he embrace Ethan's offer or continue to navigate the storm on his own? Each thought danced with a paradox: success measured by the sacrifices made versus an easier route paved by the wealthy businessman. Jake stared into the frosted windows of his garage, the space resembling a sanctuary of sorts, but also a prison of his own making. Tools hung neatly on the walls, reminders of the skills he had honed over a lifetime. Yet they felt inadequate next to the world of opportunities Ethan dangled before him. What would Lily think? He muttered, fuming at the reflection of a man desperate for guidance and overwhelmed with pride. Each evening, he returned home to Lily, her innocent laughter striking a stark contrast to his internal chaos. Time spent playing board games or cooking together provided fleeting solace, but the undercurrent tension gnawed at him. The scholarship, he knew, could provide her entrance into a world he couldn't offer, and yet his heart battled against the idea of it all being a trade-off. One afternoon, sitting across from Lily at their small kitchen table, he felt a nerve jolt through him. "Lily, if you could go anywhere for school, what would it be?" He ventured, hoping her answer might lead him toward clarity. Her eyes sparkled, dreamlike as she recounted stories of schools filled with science labs and art studios, where curiosity mingled without the constraints of their current lives. "I want to be able to explore more, like really explore. I want to be a scientist." She smiled. The words swelled hope in Jake, but soon faded into shadows of doubts. "If I want to get there myself, Dad, can I earn it?" She added, her voice firm but tender. Those words hit Jake harder than any financial burden. They nestled into the depths of his mind. Lily didn't just want a way out. She desired the experience of overcoming challenges, a quest for knowledge shaped by hard work. Suddenly, the weight he had felt lifted slightly, clarity flickering like a hopeful flame. Could he guide her along a path crafted from their shared values, while still allowing her dreams to flourish? Yet, the shadows of his struggle remained. Fears of inadequacy mingled with the tumultuous waves of jealousy for what Ethan offered. The idea of confronting Ethan again began to take form in his mind like some gargantuan task, the prospect thundering a mix of excitement and dread. He needed to understand more about the potential scholarship, the conditions tethered to it. With each heartbeat echoing in his ears, determination surged. He couldn't allow fear to dictate his decisions any longer. Seeking answers wasn't a weakness, but a necessary step toward moving forward. He thought back to Ethan's suggestions and how they were entwined with his own unraveling skepticism. What if Ethan could provide insight, stripped of pompous privilege? Conversations could unfurl like open doors, illuminating pathways of possibilities instead of hindrances. After gathering enough resolve, Jake decided to meet with Ethan one more time. This time, things would be different. He wouldn't confront him with anger. He would seek understanding. It was necessary for Lily's future, but also for his own growth. The man in the luxury car could reveal lessons that Jake had yet to grasp. As he drove to their meeting point, the cold wind pressed against his van with an urgency, mirroring Jake's inner turmoil. The stakes were higher now. This wasn't merely about a scholarship. It was about transforming his understanding of success, what it entails to truly provide for Lily. Would he manage to peel back layers of resentment to see the truth hidden beneath wealth? Determined, he parked the van. But as he stepped out into the biting cold, doubt seeped back in. What if he was making a catastrophic mistake in pursuing this path? The moment of truth was upon him, pulsing with tension. Would he leave behind the stifling cloak of pride and embrace the complexities of this new relationship? The air crackled around him as he approached Ethan, uncertainties mingling with a flicker of hope. What awaited him on the other side of their exchange? Jake took a deep breath as he spotted Ethan in the distance, standing against the backdrop of a sleek luxury vehicle that symbolized the divide between their worlds. The man radiated an air of confidence, and Jake's heart raced with both anticipation and trepidation. With each step forward, Jake grappled with the conflicting thoughts pulling him apart. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind, yet the gnawing question persisted. Could he remain true to himself while exploring the intentions of a man he deemed privileged and disconnected? "Jake," Ethan called, a greeting that sounded more like an invitation to a negotiation table rather than a casual chat. There was no warmth behind it, yet Jake sensed a flicker of genuine interest in Ethan's eyes. "Ethan," he replied, striving for a steadiness he didn't quite feel. I wanted to talk about the scholarship. I think I need to understand more about it. The words escaped him, laced with both vulnerability and firmness. Ethan's posture shifted subtly. Sure, let us take a seat. It's important we explore this thoroughly. They settled onto a bench, the noise of the city fading into a murmur as the focus narrowed onto their discourse. Do you have specific concerns? Ethan asked, crossing his arms, a gesture that seemed designed to keep Jake at bay. The challenge sparked the urgency for Jake to articulate his unease. It's not just about the funds, Jake began, his voice growing stronger. It's about what it means for Lily. A big part of me worries she'll think shortcuts are acceptable. I want her to fight for her dreams, to earn her way. Success should mean something. Ethan nodded, as if evaluating Jake's words beyond their surface. You're right, and I respect that perspective. But what if I told you that that's not how I see this? He leaned in, a glimmer of earnestness surfacing. The world can be a harder place than it seems. Opportunities are often a game of chance. Helping Lily doesn't have to mean she loses out on challenges. A wave of frustration bubbled within Jake, and he held Ethan's gaze. This was the man who navigated life with effortless control. Did he understand struggle? How could someone like him comprehend the intricate web of sacrifice tied to hard-earned success? Ethan, it's not just about providing her options. I want her to build resilience, Jake said, his voice rising slightly. It's fundamental to who she will become. His convictions battled against the realization that the conversation could help him. For every ounce of pride, the notion that he could gain knowledge here flickered within him. Was it possible to learn from someone so seemingly removed from his reality? Then why not partner with her journey? Ethan replied, tone shifting to intrigue. Instead of framing the scholarship as an easy way out, what if you both together navigated this process? Teach her the value of hard work while still taking advantage of what S provided. She could learn skills and habits you both treasure, bolstering her aspirations rather than sacrificing them. The suggestion ignited a fire within Jake. Could they carve out a path where they embraced the advantages of the world while retaining the integrity of their values? Could trust in Ethan's proposal flourish into something productive rather than a capitulation to convenience? He felt vulnerable and exposed, yet something else emerged, a burgeoning sense of hope. Can you help me understand what that looks like? Ethan's smile widened, the layers of their differences beginning to blur. For the first time, they seemed to be engaged in constructive dialogue rather than an adversarial debate. As plans unfolded and ideas were exchanged, Jake felt a sense of empowerment he hadn't anticipated. But as Jake envisioned a collaboration, a nagging feeling persisted. Was he simply succumbing to enticing offers? Did he risk abandoning his principles in pursuit of these new possibilities? The conversation ranged from educational support to mentorship, reinforcing Jake's internal struggle. It offered empowerment, but he felt a tether to his principles that could easily fray if he wasn't careful. Their meeting merged collegial tones with personal revelations, but as the sun sank behind the horizon, casting shadows about them, doubts loomed larger. Could this really be a path that honored both his values and Lily's ambitions? Jake left the meeting feeling a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty. In the complexities of the choices ahead, he sensed that the journey toward understanding what success truly meant for him hinged upon careful navigation, not just in the professional sphere, but also in how he viewed his personal growth. Shoving his hands into his pockets, he walked away cognizant of the fissures that might form if he wasn't vigilant. Would he truly be capable of embracing this opportunity without losing his way? As he rounded the corner to head home, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenge lay not only in the choices he made, but in the identity he was forging through this intricate dance with ambition. Could he emerge from this experience transformed in ways that would empower not only him, but Lily as well? The moment of truth was brewing on the horizon. He sensed it like a storm, unpredictable yet full of potential. As Jake walked home, the air thick with the scent of impending rain, he felt the weight of his thoughts pressing down on him. Each step was a blend of exhilaration and anxiety, a delicate push and pull between potential and peril. There was a flickering possibility in what Ethan had suggested, but the stakes were higher than ever. This wasn't just about him. It was about Lily, their future, and the legacy he hoped to build not just for her, but within himself. In the sanctuary of his small apartment, the walls felt suddenly claustrophobic. Each echo of the city outside seeped in, reminding him of the vast, complex world that loomed beyond his immediate reality. He dropped his bag onto the worn-out couch, the fabric rough against his fingertips, grounding him. It wasn't just the scholarship that rattled him. It was the notion of redefining success, something he always viewed through a lens finely calibrated by sweat, tears, and grit. He poured a glass of water, his hands trembling slightly as he reflected on Ethan's words. Partner with Lily's journey? The concept felt both organic and foreign, like a dance he didn't know the steps to. Raising her to be resilient had always been his primary goal. Yet how could he demonstrate resilience in a world overflowing with options, choices, and, yes, shortcuts? Running a hand through his hair, he sank into the kitchen chair, the wooden legs creaking under the weight of his indecision. It was in these quiet moments of solitude that the depth of his internal conflict revealed itself. If he accepted Ethan's proposition, would he be prioritizing convenience over the hard lessons of sacrifice? Or was this a chance to show Lily that resilience could come from accepting help without sacrificing ambition? He closed his eyes for a moment, envisioning Lily's bright smile and the spark of curiosity that always lit up her face. She needed opportunities, but they had to align with the values he had instilled in her. He stood abruptly, heart racing at the thought. There had to be a way to navigate this. Jake found himself reaching for a pen and paper, a habit that was as comforting as it was empowering. If he could map out this potential collaboration methodically, he might discover what they could achieve together. Taking a deep breath, he began writing, noting down his fears, his hopes, and any practical strategies Ethan had mentioned. As his thoughts flowed, something sparked within him, a sense of agency. Instead of fixating on what he stood to lose, he could redefine the scholarship within a framework of shared effort. This wasn't merely about Lily taking a shortcut to success. It could be an illustration of hard work, discipline, and mentorship. He could guide her through this process, framing it not as a lifeboat, but as a part of building her own vessel. Time slipped by, and the pen in his hand became an extension of his resolve. He sketched out ideas for how they could leverage the scholarship workshops on time management, discussions about balancing opportunity with effort, creating checks and balances that would ensure they both stayed committed to the process. Before he knew it, the pages were filled with possibilities. Yet as he concluded his thoughts, another shadow of doubt crept in. Would Lily be receptive to this approach? Would she see it as guidance or interference? Their dialogues had always been a two-way street, allowing her the space to express herself, but this was different. How could he ensure she'd feel supported, not constrained? The question lingered in the air, heavy and unyielding. He truly wanted to empower her, but with power often came responsibility, one he wasn't sure he was ready to shoulder. Feeling a surge of urgency, he decided his next move had to be decisive. He needed to discuss these ideas with Lily before he moved forward. The mere thought of the upcoming conversation brought an adrenaline rush. Would she appreciate the chance? Would she see the value he was trying so desperately to protect? With a sense of purpose, he rushed to the front door, ready to invite Lily into this newfound vision, the palpable tension of their conversation awaiting him. As he stepped into the hallway, a thought crashed over him like thunder. Could this be the moment where their lives would pivot? What if opening this door led to not only Lily's growth, but his own transformation as a father and a man? Just then, the weight of uncertainty melded with excitement. The next chapter of their journey lay just ahead, but only if Jake found the courage to cross that threshold and hold faith in both his path and hers. Would he be able to navigate the fine line between guidance and autonomy? Only time would tell. Jake's pace quickened as he stepped into the cool evening air, the anticipation electrifying his senses. The hallway felt less like a threshold to his apartment and more like a bridge to new possibilities. He had choices to make, and they loomed large both for him and for Lily. The sharp lines of his earlier concerns etched deeper into his mind as he approached the door to her room. They had cultivated an understanding together, built on shared moments of laughter and the silent exchanges that often spoke louder than words. Yet uncertainty gnawed at the edges of his excitement. What if Lily didn't see the same vision he had? He had to be delicate. She had to trust him, especially now. Taking a deep breath, he knocked softly, giving her the space to respond in her own time. Moments passed, each resounding against his heart like drumbeats of apprehension. When the door creaked open, Lily stood there, her expression a mix of curiosity and innocence. "Hey, Dad, what is up? Can we talk for a minute?" The gravity of his own request surprised him. He rarely initiated deep discussions. Those typically flowed from her explorations of life. But here he was on the precipice of something transformative. "Sure," she replied, her voice laced with intrigue. She stepped aside, and he filled the space, feeling the familiar warmth radiating from their respective worlds. He began, "You know that scholarship opportunity we talked about?" The words felt heavy, laden with the manipulations of his thoughts, but he pressed forward. "I've been thinking a lot about it, about us, actually." Lily nodded, her eyes widening with anticipation. "Yeah? Did you decide?" Jake leaned against her desk, conscious of the stakes. "It's not a simple decision. I want to find a way for you to have this experience, but I also want you to learn what?" She interrupted, crossing her arms defensively. "Do you think I wouldn't work hard for it?" No, it's not that." He quickly waved his hands, misfiring yet again. "I just want to ensure you understand the value of hard work, not just the success that comes from these opportunities. I want us to explore this together, but it can't just be about taking the easy way out." The room fell into silence, and he could see the wheels in her mind turning. She was processing. He could feel it. "Are you really worried about me getting soft?" she asked, the edge of her tone slicing through the tension. "You always tell me I need to be more resilient to handle the challenges that come my way. But this isn't just a challenge, it's a path, and I want to take it. I need to take it." Jake took a moment to gather his thoughts, realizing that she was more than capable. She was still at that age where ambition burned just as brightly as doubt, and balancing that flame was complicated. What if we looked at it differently? Instead of seeing it as an easy way, let us think of it as a partnership. We can set goals, outline responsibilities, make sure it's more than just accepting help. Lily's brow furrowed, tracing the contours of his intentions. "You mean you want to be involved in my scholarship journey? Like a mentor?" "Yes, exactly. This could be a lesson, not just for you, but for both of us. A way for us to tackle it head-on together." Jake felt the adrenaline surge within him, a mix of hope and realism. Maybe she started slowly, weighing the gravity of his words. "But what if I don't need a mentor? What if I want to handle this myself?" His heart dropped at the confrontation, but instead of retreating, a wave of clarity washed over him. He had been so focused on guiding her that he hadn't fully recognized her fierce independence. "Then I respect that," he replied, his tone earnest. "But I want you to know that it's okay to lean on me. This is about more than just achieving something. It's about us growing and figuring this out together." The atmosphere shifted, pulsating with the tension of realization. Jake felt the depth of their dialogue morphing into an open arena for both of their truths. It was the first step toward joint ownership of a journey he had, always seen as solitary. As Lily considered his words, Jake caught a glimpse of the young woman she was becoming, and it both thrilled and frightened him. "I'll think about it," she finally responded, returning to him with a steady gaze. But her reflection held more than mere contemplation. It was an acknowledgement of possibility. "Thank you," Jake said, his voice softer now, a comforting, buoyant tether in their conversation. But even as they stood together, a question flickered between them like a faint electrical current. Could he truly let go enough to empower her independence while guiding her through the challenges ahead? He felt another layer of uncertainty but wrapped in warmth, the potential for growth lingering heavily in the air. And as they slowly transitioned into discussions about the practicalities of the scholarship, another, deeper concern began to echo. Would they emerge together, stronger than ever, or would the pressure of their choices fracture their partnership? With that question buzzing like an impending storm, Jake realized that the true test didn't just lie in the choices they made, but in how they could continue to redefine their roles in each other's lives and the upcoming challenges that awaited them on this unexpected path. Jake sat across from Lily, the remnants of their discussion still hanging in the air like vapor. The combination of excitement and fear swirled inside him, a reflection of the very relationship they were navigating. He had consciously stepped into a new role, one that pushed him to consider not just his aspirations, but also Lily's what she desired and how she envisioned her future. Lily peered at him intently, her mind clearly sifting through the possibilities they had discussed. So what's next, Dad? If we're going to do this together, we need to figure out the specifics. Her voice was resolute, a blend of determination and a lingering uncertainty she dared not voice. Right, Jake replied, his focus sharpening. He realized that if they were to embark on this journey together, he needed to summon a strategic mindset akin to what he had used in his career. Not just to help her, but to collaborate a shared enterprise. How about we start with timelines? When do applications need to be in? She nodded, revealing a planning facet he admired. Most of them are due by mid-October, but I want to do it right. It's important to me. Jake recalled his own experiences. Deadlines had often turned them into ticking time bombs in his career, but with this, the pressure felt different. There was space for clarity now, a partnership woven into the fabric of urgency. Let us break it down into manageable parts. What about your achievements? We should cover everything you've done: school projects, volunteer work, anything that showcases your dedication. Lily beamed with excitement, appreciating his enthusiasm. I have a ton of stuff. I volunteered at the community center, managed our literature club's events, and this science fair project I'm super proud of. Encouraged by her passion, Jake felt the tides of their relationship changing. He was not merely her father, but someone who could offer insight and perspective without excessive hovering or overstepping. Perfect. We'll create an outline reflecting all that. And alongside achievements, we need to focus on your narrative. Why is this scholarship significant for you? His questions ignited her imagination. It's like, I want to show that I'm more than just someone who needs help. I want to prove that I can stand on my own and that I deserve this opportunity based on who I am, not just my circumstances. The fire in her eyes made him feel like he was witnessing her shedding layers of self-doubt. Jake leaned back, his own path of professional development strumming a nostalgic chord. He understood her desire for autonomy, having fought similarly in his career. That's a powerful narrative. Remember, it's about owning your story. How you present yourself can set the tone for everything. Lily paused, an intensity building in her expression. But Dad, what if they don't see me for who I am? What if I don't live up to that vision? The vulnerability slipped through, revealing the same fears that sometimes clouded his mind. He recognized the intersection of their fears, hers rooted in youth, his shaped by experience. You'll live up to it if you believe it. This is more than just a scholarship. It's about understanding your value based on the hard work you've put in, the courage to step out, and the willingness to take risks. His conviction invigorated her, and for the first time since their discussion began, he saw true resolve in her. As they sketched out the preliminary plans, Jake realized this was transformative for him, too, a delicate rhythm developing as he learned to let her lead in parts while guiding where necessary. Empowerment was not just about support. It was about understanding when to step aside to allow the light from her accomplishments to shine. However, shadows loomed ahead. He recalled the competitive landscape of scholarships and how unforgiving it could be. The reminders of past failures tugged at him, whispering doubts into his mind. There'll be challenges we cannot predict, Lily, but what we create together will always be stronger. The conversation began to take on a hopeful trajectory, yet the looming uncertainty remained. Would their combined efforts withstand the scrutiny of external pressures? It flickered somewhere just beneath the surface. As they began to sift through Lily's projects and achievements, a sudden thought tugged at Jake, a decision he and T fully addressed. Would he disclose his own struggles to cement their partnership? Would revealing his vulnerabilities strengthen their bond? Or would it undermine the independent spirit Lily sought to develop? The weight of that decision hung like a cloud between them, one that could darken the otherwise bright moment they were crafting together. Jake found himself at a crossroads, to share or withhold his story. What lay beyond that choice would not only shape their journey, but could very well redefine who they both were in the process. The room buzzed with promise, but inside Jake, a tumult of conflict brewed, beckoning him to navigate deeper territories of compatibility and transparency with Lily. He pondered his next move, ready to confront not just their shared ambitions, but also the profound revelations about himself that were waiting in the wings. The morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the clutter of papers strewn across the table, a chaotic testament to their brainstorming session. Jake cracked open a fresh notebook, feeling the crisp pages under his fingers as if preparing to unearth something buried within himself. "Okay, let us note down those achievements," he said, shifting his focus back to Lily, who was sitting cross-legged in a chair, scribbling furiously. Each stroke not only documented her accomplishments, but also seemed to breathe life into her vision. "I managed to get a couple of local authors to speak at our club," she said, eyes gleaming. "That felt great. And my science project," her voice softened with pride. "We used solar panels to power a model car. It worked." As he listened, Jake noticed how her words flowed with confidence, each success stacking on top of the last, reinforcing her sense of self. His heart swelled, yet a nagging doubt curled around his mind like smoke. Would her newfound narrative hold when faced with the harsh reality of the application process? Could he continue to nurture this emerging sense of self while battling his own ghosts? "Those are incredible achievements," he affirmed, but the air felt heavier, laden with unspoken fears. "Have you thought about how you'll convey your passion in those essays?" Lily's enthusiasm dimmed slightly, replaced by the shadows of doubt. "What if I can't put it into words? I'm worried I'll just freeze." Jake's own past flickered in his mind, board meetings overshadowed by anxiety, pitches failing to resonate, and moments when confidence had faltered. How could he guide her through this if he himself felt adrift? He had built a career on certainty, yet his foundation now felt precarious. "Let us practice." Then, he suggested, crafting a plan to turn the uncertainty into action. "Why don't you tell me about your project as if I'm a scholarship panelist? Just speak from your heart." As she spoke, he encouraged her, nodding and probing with questions. Her words transformed into a melody of aspirations mixed with fears. They wove ambition with vulnerability, a dance he recognized in himself, a delicate line between what one wants to project to the world and the truths that rest deep within. But as he watched her embrace this exercise, a pang shot through him. Could he allow himself the same space? Would it be reckless to share his struggles? He imagined, vividly, revealing his own backstory, the layoffs, and the uphill battles that had haunted him for years. Would sharing his failures embolden her, or would it burden her with the idea that the world was too harsh? "You're doing great, Lily," he said, then hesitated, toying with the thought of dropping his own mask. The pivotal choice hung in the air. "Maybe I should share something too." "No, Dad. It's about me, remember?" She interrupted, her voice firm yet tinged with concern. "I want to know I can do this on my own without worrying about what you've been through." Her words struck him hard, a counterpoint to his internal debate. He wanted nothing more than to shield her from the complications of adult life. But this was her venture now, a chance for her to navigate through uncharted waters. Jake straightened his back, resolute. "You're right, but I want you to know I'm here for you, always will be." As they transitioned from goals to narratives, he found unexpected strength in the act of listening. His conflicts began untangling, revealing shades of self-awareness he hadn't anticipated. This was not merely about scholarship applications, but a reflection of his journey, both unsteady and enlightening. With each story, be it Lily's or his own, they shared a common thread of resilience and growth. He sensed a shift in their dynamic, a delicate balance that danced between guidance and independence, one that would define their evolving relationship. Jake realized that this endeavor was a canvas, each brushstroke representing vulnerability and courage as they navigated their respective paths. He might not yet be ready to unveil his layers, but acknowledging his fear had already breathed life into their collaboration. The clock ticked and the deadline loomed. Their discussion shifted to timelines, logistics, and strategies, but the underlying currents of self-discovery swirled just beneath. As they neared the end of their session, a thought struck Jake with urgency. This partnership would be richer if rooted in mutual understanding, especially if he could find a way to balance support with personal disclosure. Feeling the weight of his realization, he leaned back, contemplating the next steps. Would he instead wait until the right moment presented itself, until Lily had carved her own identity fully, and only then would he share his story? As their strategies solidified, Jake felt unmoored yet emboldened, like a swimmer on the brink of a deep dive. What lay beneath would either fortify or fracture the bond they were forging. In the silence that followed their exchange, a new question nagged at him. Was he prepared to stand on the precipice of sharing his vulnerabilities, or would fear hold him back when the moment finally called for bravery? The answer remained elusive, waiting just out of reach. The afternoon waned, casting elongated shadows through the kitchen as Jake stared at the piles of notes. He felt an urgency brewing within, something he couldn't quite name. It thrummed through him, a combination of hope and dread, which sent his thoughts ricocheting off the walls of his mind. They had touched on something vital today, Lily's path to self-discovery. But what about his own? He rose abruptly, pushing his chair back with a scrape that echoed in the silent room. No longer willing to linger in the background, he decided to take active steps toward unfurling his own story. He walked toward the shelf cluttered with memories, trophies from an earlier, more certain life, and felt a spark of determination ignite within him. The chaos of the kitchen faded away as he reached for a small bronze award. It celebrated his first successful pitch, the moment he felt invincible. How far he had come, yet how far he had to go. He recalled the exhilaration that accompanied those early successes, each representing not just advancement, but also a piece of his identity. Yet now that confidence felt like dust gathering on a forgotten shelf, replaced with the grit of uncertainty. He placed the award back, a faint memory of triumph, but a reminder that he had to regain that spark. Perhaps he could channel some of the bravery they had discussed earlier and transform that energy into a narrative of his own, a testament to resilience, a preparation for the forthcoming storm. Returning to the table, he flipped through the pages of the fresh notebook, making it clear this would not merely be an ode to Lily's achievements, but a dual discovery. He couldn't coach her through fear if he himself remained paralyzed. It was no longer just about her. It was about both of them learning to rise above their pasts. Maybe starting with small victories will help, he murmured to himself, the words solidifying in his mind. He would write down his obstacles next to her achievements, letting them intertwine. This would serve as a testament to both their journeys, showing that growth could stem from even the deepest wounds. Sitting down again, he scribbled, laid off from my position, lost sense of purpose. Next to it, he wrote, helped Lily Leader Club discovered new joys in mentorship. The more he wrote, the more he realized the connections between faltering attempts and newfound strengths. The doorbell rang, shaking him from his thoughts. Lily bounded to answer it, and Jake could hear her excited chatter with a friend. This brief intermission felt like a lifeline, a moment of light amid the brewing internal storm. He took a deep breath, inviting clarity. Emboldened, Jake stood at the window, watching the two of them in animated conversation. He admired how Lily seemed so self-assured in her element. Yet beneath the surface, new layers of doubt crept in. If she could soar above expectations, how long would it take before he was ready to fly alongside her? He could no longer defer this transformational moment. As his heart raced, Jake understood that to move forward, to thrive in new territories with Lily, he needed to dig deep to confront his fears and unveil his vulnerabilities. That night, after dinner, and as Lily finished a school project, he would take a deeper plunge, broaching the subject of his past with her. He felt an unfamiliar tremor in his chest. Each thought was accompanied by a renewed determination. Could he articulate his struggle without dimming her shine? Would showing his scars help her understand her own path better? The stakes felt high, but Jake knew that growth thrived on honesty. As Lily called out for his help, he straightened, a wave of resolve washing over him. The time had come to face both of their fears, he thought, uncertain yet alive with anticipation. What revelations would emerge from this shared moment of vulnerability? The looming question remained, was his own past rich with lessons worth sharing, or would it overshadow the light Lily was beginning to cast on her journey? The answer awaited just beyond the horizon. Jake paced the living room nervously, glancing occasionally at the table where Lily sat, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was unaware of the storm swirling inside him, a mix of excitement and dread as he prepared for the conversation that had been haunting him since he decided to take this leap. This was more than just a discussion about his past. It was a confrontation of his own fears laid bare, a test of vulnerability he had avoided for far too long. Jake's hands clenched into fists as he fought the instinct to withdraw, to retreat into the safety of silence, where everything seemed easier. Lily glanced up, sensing his turmoil. "Dad, are you all right? You've been really quiet," she said, her voice tinged with concern. The innocence in her eyes made his heart ache. Here he was, questioning his worth, while she was blossoming into a confident young woman. It struck him then just how much he wanted to be a beacon of strength for her. "Yeah, I'm okay," he replied, forcing a smile that felt like it could crack. "I just wanted to talk about something important." The weight of those words traveled between them, intertwining their destinies. She set her project aside, her interest peaked. "What is it? You can tell me anything." He took a breath, feeling the tension tighten in his chest. "I've been thinking a lot about what we discussed earlier, about pursuing our journeys and facing our fears." His voice trembled slightly, and he quelled the immediate urge to gloss over what came next. "I realize that I have my own struggles, too. I haven't always been proud of where I am." Lily's expression shifted, curiosity mingling with concern. "What do you mean?" Jake hesitated, the discomfort of vulnerability wrapping around him like a heavy blanket. But he pressed on. "After getting laid off, I lost my sense of direction. It made me question my purpose, my worth. I was afraid of failing again, of not being the kind of father you need." The room fell quiet. Each word weighed down the air, but he pressed, daring to share more. "It felt easier to hide that part of me, to focus on helping you instead of facing my own fears. I thought it would protect us both." Lily leaned forward, her eyes wide. "But Dad, showing your struggles won't make you weak. It'll help me understand better. We're in this together." Her response stirred something in him, a shift that sent a surge of warmth through his heart. "You're right," he murmured, the realization striking him with clarity. "I've been hiding in the shadows, thinking I had to be perfect for you. But that isn't real, and I want you to see that it's okay to stumble. We're learning together, right?" A smile broke across her face, brightening the dimming room. "Exactly, and I want to learn from your experiences. It makes me feel less alone with my own fears." Jake's heart raced with a mix of relief and elation. This exchange was becoming an unexpected catalyst. He had never considered that his vulnerabilities could open doors to a closer bond. "Together, we can confront our struggles," he said, the fire within him roaring back to life. "We can redefine what success means, outside of trophies or job titles. It's about how we adapt and what we learn." This revelation solidified his resolve. It was more than a lesson in courage. It opened up new avenues for growth, not only for him, but for Lily as well. As they shared this moment of understanding, a new urgency struck him. He had uncovered a vital layer of his own identity, but there was more to explore. He felt the spark ready to ignite. Perhaps seeking mentorship himself could help him evolve further. Yet, this moment felt like a gentle storm brewing, one filled with endless possibilities and challenges. What would happen when he pushed a step out of his comfort zone? How could he continue to carve this path of discovery? The lingering question remained. Could he summon the courage to engage with professionals, to reinvent his narrative into one of resilience, not just for himself, but as a model for Lily? The answer loomed on the horizon, just within his grasp. As dawn broke, Jake felt a tangible shift within himself. The sun's rays poured through the window, illuminating not just the day, but the clarity that had crystallized during his heartfelt conversation with Lily. He had shared his depths of struggle, unveiling a layer of vulnerability that not only established a foundation of trust, but also reignited his own sense of purpose. Empowered by this newfound connection, he took action. Instead of retreating into his former patterns of silence, he decided to embrace the challenges ahead. Jake grabbed his phone and began reaching out to former colleagues and friends in the industry he had previously navigated with ease. It's time to invest in myself, he thought as he sent out messages, requesting coffee meetings to share ideas and gain insights into current job market trends. Just a few short weeks later, the responses flooded in, each message like a jolt of electricity surging through him. Coffee meetings transformed into strategy sessions, and rekindled friendships turned into valuable mentorship opportunities. As they talked, Jake learned about new strategies, not only regarding job opportunities, but the evolving landscape of their industry, a realm he had begun to fear due to its changes, yet now felt ready to embrace. In these discussions, he showcased his own experiences, demonstrating resilience through storytelling. His previous failures became touchpoints of connection, bridging relationships with his peers. The relief of no longer hiding from his past felt liberating, and for the first time in years, Jake approached these gatherings with confidence, ready to advocate for his value. The transformation extended beyond professional undertakings. Jake began implementing strategies from their discussions into his daily routines. He incorporated time management techniques that enhanced not just his job search, but also his time with Lily. Board game nights transformed into exploratory discussions about her projects, helping her connect her academic ambitions to real-world applications. They collaborated with an infectious enthusiasm, bouncing ideas off each other, building a synchronized momentum that deepened their bond. Months later, as autumn leaves began to cover the ground, the scholarship application process came to an end. The final submission brought with it a wave of gratitude that washed over both Jake and Lily. They had navigated the path together, encouraging one another and embracing vulnerabilities in ways they hadn't anticipated. As acceptance letters trickled in, Jake was overwhelmed, not just by the achievements, but by the journey they had undertaken. When Lily had received an offer from a top science program, he couldn't help but feel an inextricable link between her success and his journey of rediscovery. She turned to him, her eyes filled with excitement, and declared, "This isn't just my achievement, Dad. It's ours." In that moment, the lines between parent and child blurred, morphing into a partnership brimming with potential. Jake realized that each step they had taken had not only helped Lily rise toward her dreams, but it sparked a profound metamorphosis within himself. As an invitation to join a professional mentoring program landed in his inbox, offering the chance to network and develop skills further, he felt ready to accept. This was not just a means to advance his career. It was a way to continue demonstrating to Lily the value of seizing opportunities and nurturing connections, an innate path to growth. In the warm embrace of autumn air, Jake sat with Lily on their porch, laughing and reminiscing about their early struggles. He understood, now more than ever, that their stories intertwined. They shaped who they were as individuals and as a family. He felt a solid confidence radiating from within, built on real accomplishments rather than imposed expectations. Jake had conquered not only the fears that had held him back, but had proved the importance of sharing that struggle. With Lily by his side, he embraced the respect he had once feared losing. True achievement was not just about accolades. It was rooted in personal growth, the lessons learned through hardship, and the connections forged in vulnerability. As they watched the leaves dance in the wind, Jake marveled at the transformation that had taken place. He was no longer just a mechanic, a delivery driver, or a father plagued by insecurities. He was a father proud of his journey, a man who revealed the strength found through vulnerability, standing firm as not only a provider for Lily, but a partner in her dreams. The sun began to set, painting the sky in rich hues of orange and purple, a fitting backdrop to conclude their stories for now. They were no longer defined by their struggles, but instead were illuminated by the resilience they had both cultivated on this remarkable journey. Now is the time for you to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss these exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like right now to help us reach and inspire even more people. Let us know your reactions and theories about Jake and Lily's journey in the comments. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this uplifting conclusion. Together we can spread the power of personal transformation.